What's up guys, it's me Shaman and I'm back at it again with another top 10 strongest video, but rather than doing Fire Force this time, I'm going to be doing Soul Eater. Hopefully you guys will agree with my list. If not, comment down below what you think the list should be. Without further ado, let's dive right into this video. Now starting off this list, I have Justin Law. Not only was he the youngest student at DWMA to become a Death Scythe, but he was also able to do this all by himself, with no weapons meister. Justin's strength is no laughing matter, as he's able to take on the likes of Giriko, Medusa, Tezuka, and even Dr. Stein. And when you take their titles into consideration, with Tezuka being a Death Scythe, Medusa being a Gorgon sister, and Dr. Stein being the #1 Meister of DWMA, that only goes to show just how strong Justin Law really is. If there's anything to say about Justin Law's power, I'd say he's slightly stronger than your average Death Scythe. And then you take into consideration that he's able to fight without a Meister, I think he's definitely a good starting point for this list. As for number 9 on this list, I decided to put Stein over Justin, obviously because Stein has actually defeated him, and even drove Justin to the point of running away. He is definitely the #1 Meister at DWMA for a reason. But to really get statistical as to why Stein is stronger than Justin, outside of him just beating Justin in a fight, a Justin without Madness Fusion was so overwhelmed by Stein with Izuna. And just in case if you don't know what Izuna is, it's a technique that Marie uses where she can boost her weapons meister's physical capabilities by a large margin. While Stein was using this technique against a Justin Law in base form, Justin was getting completely overwhelmed by him, to a point in which he'd have to run away. But when Justin uses Madness Fusion, this would actually put him in the same league as Stein. When Justin has a Madness Fusion and is fighting Stein, in order for Stein to defeat him, he has to use Izuna to its very limits and release the cap on his madness. To put it simply, Stein was fighting at his very limits, and the margin between these two is so close that if Stein were to have ran out of Izuna, he could have easily have died against Justin. So to reiterate, base form Justin Law would be slightly stronger than your average Death Scythe, but not only this, he has combat abilities since he can fight by himself, so that already puts him in another league compared to your average Death Scythe. But if he uses Madness Fusion, he is in a completely different league. And this is evident because when Justin fights Tezuka, he's absolutely washing him. The only reason why Tezuka was lasting so long was because of his fighting style, in which he'd use mirror reflections to trick his opponent. During this fight, Justin Law with Madness Fusion is so strong, even if Tezuka would have had Enrique, I don't think it would have made much of a difference, because when you take into consideration that Dr. Stein is the #1 Meister at DWMA, and he had to go to his very limits just to contest with Justin Law and beat him by not that much of a large margin, just goes to show why Justin Law is number 10 on this list, and while Stein is number 9 above him. But the margin between the two is very close. And for number 8 on this list, I have a young Mosquito. So I'm gonna start this off by saying that Mosquito in terms of strength is extremely slept on. If Giriko and Mosquito were to actually fight, I think Mosquito would actually slap the fuck out of him. Mosquito from 400 years ago is so strong that he absolutely obliterates Kid and Free in less than a second. He's even able to contest with a Kid who's awakened his first line of Sanzu. So much so by the end of the fight that they are both left in a weakened state. And if you can contest with Kid while he's in this new form, that shows that you're just in a different league. This form is so strong that it actually had Dr. Stein shook, leaving himself questioning, what is this wavelength? And I think the fact that Mosquito can even fight Kid with his first line of Sanzu puts him above both Justin Law and Stein. And that's not even taking into consideration his form from 800 years ago. He's so strong that even Noah commends his strength, saying that he is indeed terrifyingly strong and powerful. And then when you look at what Noah says about Stein, so long as you continue to suppress your madness, you are of no value whatsoever. That right there should actually say a lot. In this same Noah was able to fight both Black Star and Kid under the madness of power. Had to push Kid into using 2 lines of Sanzu right after he bopped the elites of DWMA, Stein included. Funny thing is, next on this list for number 7 is actually Noah. But this isn't your average Noah. Despite him being very strong, we're actually going to use his strongest form. Noah fused with Brew, with a book that is filled with knowledge that has no end, basically meaning that you can pull an infinite amount of things out of it, combined with the power of Brew, which is the power of brewing. Allow me to clarify. Brewing is when you're able to take information and then take that same information and recombine it to give birth to a new thing. Meaning, I take an apple and an orange, I combine them, I get Snapple, or I don't fucking know, or apple juice. The ultimate brew between an apple and an orange, or apple juice! So when you take the power of combining things, which is brewing, and you equip that with an unlimited supply of information, you're going to be making a bunch of overpowered things. Maybe not as overpowered as or apple juice, but Noah combined with the creatures from the Book of Abon puts him on a level where he's actually able to go toe to toe with the Kishin. And yes, that is not an illusion, that is actually the Kishin. But to be fair, that isn't his official manifestation. But despite that, this is still an amazing feat from Noah. And at number 6, we have Krona. Not only is he higher than Noah because he actually defeats Noah, but he actually absorbs Brew in the Kishin as well, making him so strong that his soul wavelength came close to actually encompassing the moon. Krona is so strong, he was actually able to open the mouth of the moon as well. Number 5 on this list would most definitely be Maka. Despite being the weakest between her, Black Star, and Kid, the fact that she was even able to keep up with Asura and fight alongside Kid and Black Star should speak volumes enough in itself. The fact that she can even play ball in this league should tell you that she is definitely a star player. After all, she actually performs arguably, in my opinion, the strongest attack in the series, Kishin Hunt. Just in case if you're asking, well, she can do the strongest attack in the series, how come she's not the strongest in the series? It's because just because she has a strong ass attack, that doesn't mean that she'd be able to hit somebody like Black Star with this. After all, she only hit Asura with this because Kid and Black Star held him down. With her full black blood coat, she's actually able to take hits from Asura. And the fact that she was even somewhat able to fight Asura before she got this coat is kinda insane. Now, number 4 on this list is Kid. When Kid fully awakens all 3 of his lines of Sanzu, he actually becomes a Shinigami, or I guess you could say an actual god. He's so strong in this form that his soul actually covers the moon and his soul wavelength can reach the earth, affecting it and creating waves. He also has the ability to use this move called Madness of Order, an intense madness so strong that it could even eclipse all human emotions and leave only a mechanical cycle of birth and death. Unfortunately, he's not as strong as Shinigami or Asura because his madness does not encompass the entire world, but the fact that it can encompass the moon is impressive enough to put him at the number 4 spot of this list. As for number 3 on this list, I bet most of you have already saw this coming, and number 3 is Black Star. Not only is he stronger than Kid, after all, Asura literally tells us this by telling Kid that he's slightly worse than Black Star, but Asura, as strong as he is, actually commends Black Star for his strength because he surpasses all human limits. And this is only really the start of just how strong Black Star really is. Black Star is so strong, he is beyond human understanding. And what does being beyond human understanding entail? Basically, Black Star somewhat has Toon Force, doing things that defy the laws of physics, such as grabbing a laser beam and throwing it back down at his opponents, swallowing a nuke whole, fighting with a broken spine, and I'm pretty sure these are just the start of it, because by the end of the series, Black Star actually learns how to float. And as a god, I wouldn't be surprised if Kid had similar-esque abilities. To put it in the simplest terms possible, Black Star says, as if I couldn't do something God can do. The only things I can't do are the things only I can't do. Liz then says, why doesn't he just say I can do anything? To keep it short, Black Star basically has the ability to do anything that he wants. But unfortunately, we never do get to see the full extent of these powers. After all, some type of order does have to be maintained. Honestly, Black Star is really strong, so strong that I might even just make a video talking specifically about him and what he's capable of doing. But until then, let's move on to the number 2 spot. Number 2 on this list is the one and only Excalibur. Without a doubt, Excalibur is the second strongest character in the series and the strongest weapon in the entirety of the series. After all, every single demon weapon is based off of his original design. Excalibur is so strong, he took the worst Meister in all of DWMA hero and made him a 3-star Meister and the strongest in the entire school, just by wielding him. Excalibur is so strong that with his help alone, he could have made the battle against the clowns on the moon easier for the Meisters at DWMA, turning the tide in the war against the Kishin. Excalibur is a great old one for a reason. If he's so strong, he's able to take the worst Meister in the entire school and make him beat Shinigami's son and Black Star. I don't know what else could convince you that he's the second strongest. If Black Star Kid and Maka are able to fight Asura with their regular weapon partners, demon weapons, not even complete full death sides outside of Soul, it's absolutely insane. It is madness to think of what they could possibly do with a weapon like Excalibur in their hands. Stein with Excalibur, Black Star with Excalibur, any character with Excalibur. If anyone would have used Excalibur during the War on the Moon, it would have been a W. I don't know how to stress that any more than I've already have, but I think Excalibur being the second strongest in the series was a no-brainer. Now before we do number 1 on this list, let's do some honorable mentions. Mifune. The reason why Mifune isn't on this list was because Mosquito is actually far stronger than Mifune, as he was Arachne's top henchman. And honestly, I think if you were to pin Mifune against Mosquito or a first line of Sanzu Kid, I kind of think Mifune is gonna get popped. As epic as the God of the Sword is, when you take into account that Sid was able to actually keep up with him, despite Mifune not using jumbled lineup, I kind of feel like Stein with Izuna would eat Mifune up. After all, Stein is so strong with Izuna, he actually hit Justin so hard that he left the moon smoking, and I don't think Mifune is doing that. Another honorable mention, Arachne. Arachne is not on this list because she might be strong until you realize that her soul wavelength might not be as impressive as other people who are on this list. Because the only reason why her wavelength seems so big is because she transmits her wavelength through a web using all the other souls around her. Even Maka, who doesn't have that large of a soul wavelength at this point in the story, is able to use this against her. So it's not like she's at a level where her soul's actually covering the moon, or her soul wavelength is reaching beyond Baba Yaga's castle unless she's using a web to do so. So I hope that explains all your questions there. As for number 1 on this list, I think it's the most obvious. Shinigami and Asura are the strongest in the series. Their madness wavelengths are so strong they can encompass the entire planet. Not only this, they are both gods. Just like Excalibur, if Shinigami were to fought during the War on the Moon, he would have made a major difference in the outcome of that battle. But instead, he used this battle to help Kid develop so he could become a Shinigami and be the next ruler of the cosmos. I hope you guys enjoyed this top 10 video, and I'll see you guys in the next Soul Eater or Fire Force video. Tell me if you agree with the list in the comment section below. If not, tell me who you would have put in your top 10 list. And with that, I'll see you guys later.